I'm Linda Baker, the Learning Director at the Center for Research and Education on Violence Against Women and Children at Western University. On behalf of our team, I'd like to welcome all of you to the Learning Network Sexual Violence Forum, What Really Informs Consent. I am privileged to introduce Laureen Blue Waters. Blue grew up with and learned from her grandmother. Her family is from Big River, Saskatchewan, Athatkoop Reserve, and Brador Lake, Eskasoni First Nation, Cape Breton, Nova Scotia. Currently, Blue works at Peel Aboriginal Network as an elder providing traditional teachings, individual counseling, full moon ceremonies, and workshops. She is also an elder on campus at Seneca College, where she provides traditional teachings and counseling. Blue travels to hearings and testimonies with the National Inquiry into Murdered and Missing Indigenous Women and Girls. In fact, when we spoke with Blue about joining us today, she was at the hearing in Yellowknife. Blue, we invite you to lead us in a traditional opening.
I want to start off and use the Cree language to introduce myself, first of all. And that would sound like Tansei Istchii Nikamoon, Natisina Kasun, Maingan Dodem, Athatkoop, Saskatchewan, Eskasoni First. I'm from the Wolf clan, and my family is from Athatkoop, Saskatchewan, and Eskasoni First Nation. And thank you for inviting me here today. And first of all, I'd like to say that I want to welcome each and every one of you to the territories of the Mississaugas of the New Credit. This is very important for Indigenous people that we recognize the land on where we are and to recognize those ancestors that created and cared for this path that we're walking today and our journeys throughout the city. Not only were the Mississaugas of the New Credit here, but also the Haudenosaunee, the Huron-Wendat, and all those other nations that were welcomed here when they arrived. And they settled here and made this their place of residence. So welcome to each and every one of you. Unless you're one of those nations that I mentioned, you're a guest, including myself, because my family doesn't come from this territory. So we give thanks for that today. I was very honored to come and do your opening for you. And as was mentioned, I was in Yellowknife at the time with the hearings. One of our very important subjects right now, which has to do with violence against women and girls. But it also has to deal with our two-spirit, our LGBTQ, and our trans. And I don't think we can forget them. They are part of our communities, they are part of our beings, and those beings are human beings. We're all human beings. And violence knows no identity, it knows no gender identity, and it's something that is created by human beings, against human beings. And for me, it's very important that we mention all those, and our little boys, and our young men, and our men. Because when a family member has been abused or assaulted, whether it's their mother, their sister, their auntie, their cousin, their uncle, it affects the whole communities, not just one group of individuals. So I wanted to mention that because it's very important, because I know this is for a good purpose and it's focused on one purpose, but I don't think we can forget about all those others that are involved in this. And to not mention them would be disrespecting them. So that's why I mention them. No disrespect to the intent of this webinar itself. So I want to ask the Creator to come and be with us today, and those ancestors, those ones that have already gone on before us, and those ones that are yet to come, because they're watching what we're doing now. Those ones have not been born yet, and they're seeing what kind of a world are we creating for them to be coming into a human form. So we have to always mention them and say that we will do our best to make this place a much better place than when we found it and we came into our human bodies, and that we will work and strive for to make this a better place for them. And to give thanks for those ones that taught us as we were growing up, and those ones that did come long before we were born and taught our parents and our grandparents. We acknowledge them and ask them to come and be with us today. Because today it's talking about a subject that's very triggering. It's very triggering for a lot of people. Those of us who do our healing journeys, sometimes we think we're over that hill, right? We've gone through those dark, deep times, and we've done our healing journeys, and we're on our way, to full recovery. And a picture, a word, can re-trigger us and take us back to places where we thought we were healed from. So healing is a lifelong journey in an Indigenous perspective. It doesn't just happen overnight. It doesn't happen in a week, a month, 10 years, or 30 years. It's something that we work with every day, and we continue to travel through. Hence the importance of having events like this, and speaking and educating and teaching, and having resource places for people to go to do their healing work at. Because if we can talk all we want about the subjects. If we don't provide the services to help those that are in need of those services, then we're just wasting our breath by speaking, because we're not moving forward. We're staying in one place. So I hope that through conversations, through those words of wisdom from our ancestors gone before us and yet to come, they help us say those things that are needed to the people that are listening. And we hope today that our minds will be open in a different way than what they have been before. And we hope that our eyes will see things in a different way than what they've seen before, and our ears will hear in a different way. And second to the most important, I hope that our words speak to each other in a good way. Because once we bring those words to life, we can't take them back. And sometimes we're very harsh and critical, and we're very racist and discriminating and oppressive towards each other. The same people that we do work with, sometimes we tend to take our anger and aggressions and our frustrations out on those people. So I ask today that as you journey and you travel, while you're doing this type of work, that you remember that we need to speak to each other in a kind and gentle way to make sure that we build each other up instead of helping what those oppressors are doing by pushing us down. The most important is that we try to live our lives in a good way. And we do that with love. We do that with love for each individual. We've all come from a mother. We've all come from that beautiful force of water when our parents were carrying us. And that water protected us, and it healed us, and it helped us to grow and shape us into the people we are today. And we have to remember that, because sometimes people will say, well, this doesn't affect my community. This type of thing doesn't happen in my community. But when it happens to one woman, one girl, one Two-Spirit, one LGBTQ person, it happens to all, because we all come from that same life force, which is water. And it's very important for us to remember and to drink water each day, to give thanks for that water, because we sometimes take it for granted, that it's just there, that we can turn on our tap and we have availability to it. Also our foods. Those foods that are sometimes grown from people who are victims of abuse and neglect and torture and oppression, right? They prepare that food for us by growing it and harvesting it and taking care of it. We forget about that. We just assume that it's going to be there for us, or we go to the store and we get it, right? As an Indigenous perspective, we give thanks for everything that had life. Because whatever had life has a spirit. What has a spirit deserves to be respected, which is no different than each one of us. So we give thanks today for whatever will come our way in the way of water, food, conversation. We're going to be greeted today by the sun again, that grandfather sun that watches over us. We haven't seen that grandfather for, quite a while lately, because he's visiting the other different hemispheres that are out there, right? And kind of hiding from us, so we're going to be grateful that we can see that sun today. And I encourage you on a short break, go out even if it's only for 2 minutes, and feel that warmth, feel that love that comes from that sun. That sun comes up every day and it greets us no matter what. Sometimes we don't get to see it, but it's there, right? And we take that for granted as well. And when you go home this evening, give thanks for that moon that's there, because that moon is the one that controls the tides. And that moon is the one that takes care of the water. We call her our grandmother. Right? So Those balances are there in life, right? The grandfather and the grandmother. You know, the sky being our father, the earth being our mother. Everything has balance, everything has purpose. And much like our lives, we have to make sure we take care of ourselves. And that's something that frontline workers, activists, educationalists, English is not my first language, I guess. We neglect ourselves because we're so busy trying to take care of others, trying to do the work that's needed. So we have to remember to take care of ourselves. And when you get home tonight, rest, be grateful that you see your families, and give gratitude to whomever and however you choose to do that. Whomever you choose to offer thanks to, prayers, gratitude, remember to do that each and every evening, because nothing is certain in this life except that sun coming up, because that was our promise, that every day we'd be greeted with a new day if we tried to live our lives in a good way. So today I ask these things from those ancestors to help us with that, and from our Creator, and to just be with you and know that each one of you is a gift, we believe, from the Creator. As human beings, we all have separate gifts, and as collectives, we contain many gifts. Just like when you're a little kid and you're waiting for that Christmas present, right? There's always one that you were just waiting for. You may have got 2 or 3, or you may have only got 1, but it was always one. And there's somebody in this room that will help you today. We don't know who it is, because they're a gift. And there's somebody in your journey that will help you today, and we don't know who they are, because they are a gift. So be kind, be gentle, be respectful. Speak your truth. Do it with kindness. Do it with humility. Do it with wisdom, and do it with love. And most of all, continue to be brave to keep doing this work, because it's much needed. I had been given tobacco, and I just want to mention that because that's one of our protocols. That when someone is asked to do something, tobacco is offered, because tobacco was given to us by the Creator as a means to communicate with each other and to make agreements and to make offerings. So we offer tobacco every morning when we get up to give thanks for that day. It was asked that I could come here and do this work for you, and the tobacco has been given. So that's kind of like a contract. It's a new age contract, you know. We still don't use virtual tobacco. Don't even go there. We're not going to do that. Some things have to remain face to face so it doesn't lose its integrity. So I want to say hi miigwech. Thank you for inviting me, and I will be here with you for the day. If anybody has any questions, you can just come and find me. So thank you. Hi.
Thank you, Blue. Thank you for sharing your gifts with us, and we look forward to having you bring our forum full circle when we reach the end of our time together.